July 11th, 1961. Trumpets herald the arrival in Washington of the Pakistani jetliner bearing President Mohammed Ayub Khan. First to greet President Ayub is American President John F. Kennedy. With President Ayub is his lovely daughter, Begum Aurangzeb. The two presidents are joined by American Secretary of State Dean Rusk and other dignitaries. Mrs. Kennedy and Begum Aurangzeb exchange greetings. President Ayub makes his way along the reception line, while President Kennedy greets each member of the visiting Pakistani party. Prominent among them are Pakistan's Minister of External Affairs, Manzoor Qadir, and Minister of Finance, Mohammad Shoaib.
It is a great pleasure and great honor for me to welcome our distinguished visitor, President of Pakistan. We are glad to have you here because you come as the head of an important and powerful country which is allied with us in CETO, which is associated with us in CENTO, which represents a powerful force for freedom in your area of the world.
I am overwhelmed by the warmth of reception, Mr. President, you have given me, and very kind words you have expressed about my country and its relationship with your country. Now I'm looking forward to having the opportunity of exchanging views with you, and I have no doubt that our area of understanding will enlarge as a result of it, and our friendship will get stronger.
Full military honors are paid to President Ayub, World War II veteran of the Burma Front and the former commander of his country's armed forces. In Mr. Kennedy's new presidential limousine, the two presidents acknowledge the cheers of the throngs. The end of the parade finds the presidential party at the Blair House, the president's official guest house, where the distinguished visitor will stay for the first 3 days of his 8-day visit in the United States. A few miles up the Potomac River from Washington is Mount Vernon, home of George Washington, the first president of the United States. President Ayub and his daughter are the guests of President and Mrs. Kennedy at a state dinner there. It is the first time a state dinner is held at this historic shrine. The 16-mile trip provides lovely views of the natural beauties along the banks of the Potomac. A winding road leads up to the house, which is at the top of a steep hill overlooking the river. Many guests are waiting for President Ayub and President Kennedy. Among them are some of the chief diplomatic and political figures of the United States. As part of the welcoming ceremony, a small bronze bust of George Washington is presented to the Pakistani leader. As a special entertainment, a military pageant of colonial times is enacted. A platoon of soldiers dressed in the period of the American Revolution performs a drill. A fife and drum corps furnishes music of nearly 2 centuries ago. The state dinner takes place outdoors on George Washington's favorite sweep of lawn overlooking the river. President Ayub described the canopy, specially constructed for the occasion, as an American shamiana. At the dinner, President Kennedy, speaking for all Americans, says that no one could be a more welcome guest than President Ayub. The following day, President Ayub goes to fulfill one of the primary purposes of his trip to the United States, to exchange views with President Kennedy and to become personally acquainted with him. Before an unusually large representation of the international press, President Ayub confers with President Kennedy and Vice President Johnson. They stress the need of the nations of the free world to attain unity in order to promote international peace and ensure national security. In response to a special invitation, President Ayub is on his way to address a joint session of the Congress of the United States. The two houses will convene together as a signal honor to the visiting head of state.
I regard it as a great privilege to have been given the opportunity to address this august body, the most powerful and the most distinguished representative institution in the world. I come from Pakistan.
In his address, President Ayub reviews the grave problems which face his country. He tells the representatives of the American people that if Pakistan is to retain its dearly loved freedom, it must modernize its education, its agriculture, and its industry. He acknowledges the great value of American assistance to Pakistan and states that his country takes a keen interest in the way things go in the United States. Ending his address, he expresses his confidence that the friendship between Pakistan and the United States will continue to grow in strength. Washington's Islamic Center and Mosque is one of the many beautiful religious centers of the nation's capital. President Ayub arrives to visit this place of worship for Washington's Muslims. In the courtyard, the president observes a fountain, which is a replica of one in the Alhambra in Spain. The visitor is guided through the mosque by its director, Dr. Mahmoud Hobala. Dr. Hobala explains the varied cultural and educational programs of the Islamic Center. President Ayub is pleased to visit this great center in America for research on Islam. The Embassy of Pakistan is the scene of a meeting between President Ayub and Pakistani residents of Washington. Speaking to students among them, the President stresses the importance of their coming to the United States to study. He adds that on their return home, he trusts that they will put their knowledge at the service of their country. The National Press Club in Washington is a meeting place of some of the world's most influential newsmen. By special invitation, President Ayub comes to speak before them.
Mr. President and gentlemen, I feel rightly honored to have been given the opportunity